Who would have thought that leaving nobody out of the Odyssey would trigger an internet outrage and has become one of the movie's biggest problems? So, the Odyssey released this past weekend with an impressive $265 million sales mark globally. And as the internet talk surges and everyone's giving their thoughts and opinions, it's no surprise that some people will be angry or upset that something that they believe in has been omitted or reshaped in this movie. So, what started all of this is when Odysseus and his crew are on the search for food. They chase the sheep up into the Cyclops cave. And while they're in there, they become trapped when the Cyclops returns home. And later on, Polyphemus, the Cyclops, ends up asking Odysseus what his name is, and he replies with nobody. Now, I will agree that this is an iconic line from the story, and frankly, had Christopher Nolan included this in his movie, there would have been an easy 10 to 15 minutes of additional film time. It's a bit crazy, but let me explain. So, in order to set up that scene, there would be much more that needed to be added. So, first, we would see that the crew finds the grapes on the island, and then once they get trapped, Odysseus tricks the Cyclops into drinking the wine, and Polyphemus loves the wine and wants more. That Odysseus tells him that they're made of grapes and that this island has plenty of grapes. So now the men think that they can escape by going to get more grapes. But oh no, Polyphemus then decides to cage them back up into the cave, and he retrieves more grapes himself. Then the men need to turn the grapes into wine, and then Odysseus feeds the wine to Polyphemus and gets him to drink it all, eventually getting him drunk, and then he passes out. So, not to mention that earlier Polyphemus mentions to Odysseus and the crews that his brothers are also on this island. So then, after they blind him, and during their great escape back to the ships, Polyphemus calls out to his brothers for help, but they don't come to help. That's because he's screaming, "Nobody is hurting me." And that's the pun, and that's the joke. And then at the same time, Odysseus arrogantly yells back to Polyphemus his real name and the crew. And upon this, Polyphemus casts huge boulders at the ships and calls out to his father Poseidon to avenge him. And that's when the curse has been cast upon Odysseus and his crew for the rest of the journey home. Whew, that's a lot to take in, and that's a lot to add to the story, just to add the nobody line. Now look, I understand adaptations have always been made, some changes going from the book to the movie, but deciding to cut out the nobody line or the scene could argue that it was a real letdown for the true Odyssey fans. The 1997 TV show adaptation with Armando Assante understood why this exchange mattered between Odysseus and Polyphemus. It wasn't just included because it's famous, but it showcases the intelligence of Odysseus, which happens to be the core of his brilliance. At the same time, in the 1954 movie version of Ulysses with Kirk Douglas, well, Kirk Douglas does all of this stuff with the wine and the tricks, and yet they still omit the nobody line. Out of all the previous movies made about this story, they're all different in their storytelling. This new movie is no different. But personally, for me, having all of these omitted parts in the movie really don't matter as much. In fact, I'm actually happy that they're not in there. The scene was already tense and suspenseful, and that's just a core feature of this movie. So to add the nobody line would have taken away from all that suspense and tension. And actually, in a July 14th interview with Jon Stewart, Christopher Nolan stated that he really wanted to include the famous nobody dialogue into this new adaptation, but apparently it was not possible to work it in. So however you feel about the scene, I'm genuinely curious as to your thoughts. Do you feel that it should have been included or excluded from the movie? Have you, or do you plan to go watch this movie? Just let me know in the comment section down below. So thanks for watching, and as always, turn off your damn phone and just watch the movie.